Hey, folks, welcome back. Nate and Christian here. We have watched episode 3
Yeah,
and we have thoughts now.
we do.
I review.
Yep.
All right, Nate. So we're on episode 3 of the show. I think, was it
Yes.
8 episodes total? I think is what we're looking
8,
at.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so a good ways in now. How you feeling overall about the show and kind of what's been happening?
Yeah, like I was saying, I'm too involved in it. Not too as in it's a bad thing. Like I am just very involved. I am wondering. They've got a lot going down, but not too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got Marcus's storyline, they've got Hawk's storyline. Excuse me. They got McCarthy now. They got these McCarthy's two henchmen,
Mm-hmm.
henchmen. But
Right.
like there's just a lot going down. What's her name wasn't in this show episode at all. Uh, Tim's beard
Right.
is it wasn't in this episode at all. But they've got that storyline that will probably come up in later episodes, whatever, and it's done so well, so it's not rushed. I don't feel like it's rushed. I feel like they're taking time. They still didn't really explain Marcus's outburst from the whole. We don't know really what triggered that whole thing. We know it was racism based, so that's evident,
Right.
right? But also why he reacts so poorly to being called his boyfriend and whatever blah blah
Right.
blah. So I think it's they know how to keep the intrigue, so I'm very happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely more invested in kind of the as I tend to be some of like the I guess the mystery pieces of what's
Hmm.
going on. So one thing I'm very curious about is, Tim's transition out of politics. Because
Okay.
as we've talked about, he definitely seems like he doesn't belong there, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just
Hmm.
not his personality. He's too soft for it, really.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's just not for him, right? It's too much conniving and wheeling. He's That's just not how he is. He's
But he might be
more.
like we were talking about, one of those people who thinks that they can improve it.
Yeah, I think so, but like skill set wise, he's just
Hmm.
not suited to it, right? Like he's just not the type of person that's really I think gonna do very much there. So it seems like he eventually moves away from that, and because it seems like even before he seems to have contracted AIDS, he
Hmm.
worked at that clinic, right? So and he was in San Francisco. So it seems like, at some point he kind of is done with this, kind of more living his true life and away from Hawk. So I'm curious to
Right.
see kind of how that happens and how he gets there.
Yeah.
Um Curious, do you
Wait.
think go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Just real quick, what's interesting is you brought up that he's working in this clinic, excuse me, and the thought that crossed my mind when we found out in this episode that he was working in a clinic is that actually how he might have contracted
He may
HIV?
have.
Because the initial thought, which is kind of bad, and this is why I was thinking of this. The initial thought is always, oh, he had sex with a man,
Right.
which is not, excuse me, it's not always the case. HIV wasn't HIV wasn't isn't they used to call it the gay cancer or whatever, but it wasn't. It's just like cancer. It hits whomever, right? Um, just they I think it was like there was just a higher percentage of gay people that had it, right? But straight people got it as well. Also, children got it by being born from women who had it, or being born, sorry, with men or women who had it, right? Because if the man had it but didn't pass it to the woman but passed it to the baby, that could happen, sort of thing, right? So just the plethora of different ways. And so the first thing that we're always thinking is, oh, sex. But no, it might not have been, right? He might have contracted it from maybe a blood infusion, which happened. That happened. There's a song by Michael Jackson called "Gone Too Soon," and he did excuse me, he did a video about it with this kid who had contracted HIV through a blood infusion,
Hmm.
and everybody treated him, just like they treated the gay people, like they treated him like he was, less than, like he was a leper, basically. Uh,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Yeah, I got this, and it wasn't my fault." It was really the clinic's fault for not testing. Um, and so he got it. He contracted it, and he passed away, unfortunately, because of that. So we're always thinking, and even if you do contract it through sex, it's not like you're a bad person, sort of thing. It's just one of those things, just like everything else, just unfortunately happened. You know. So,
Mhm.
anyways, that's what crossed my mind when you said that when we were watching, and then you reminded me of it. So sorry. Hopefully, I didn't make you forget your
Oh, not at all.
question.
No, the other piece that's intriguing to me is this whole Tim and Hawk thing. Seeing them interact, seeing Tim's goo goo eyes all the time and wanting to
Yeah.
be in public, and
Hmm.
Tim more just not Tim, Hawk just more be more transactional, it seems. And so it
Hmm.
was interesting how when Hawk mentioned, them hiding who they sleep with, Tim's like hiding who we love.
Right.
Now,
Hmm.
I think Tim loves Hawk,
Yes.
maybe to his own detriment.
Hmm. I think he's obsessed with Hawk.
Do you think, at least at this point in the, I'm gonna say current timeline, I don't know
Hmm.
current, but the past, the
Hmm.
further past, because it's all past, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I guess the first timeline, do you think
The earlier
so
past.
far Hawk loves him?
I think
Because
Hawk's
I've not.
always loved him.
You
Right.
think so?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that he's
Now,
always.
not like him or has interest in him, but do you think he loves him?
I think when I say love, I think that he loves him if the situation were how it is now, he would want to be in an open, like not an open. I don't know if they want an open relationship, but he would want to be in a relationship with Tim, right? That he would be able to, like, he'd be able to walk down the streets, and it's still not super well now, but I think he does. I think he has feelings for him, what we would call love for him, and I think they might be as deep but different than Tim's.
Hmm,
Hmm.
okay.
Otherwise, if he didn't, he wouldn't put up with as much as he does from Tim. Right? That's my opinion. I could be wrong. What do you, what do you
Interesting. Yeah.
think?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure, as it's hard to know whether he's just better able to keep these things segregated in their place, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is only going to be casual because that's
Hmm.
all it can be, and I'm
Hmm.
not going to act like it's gonna be more because it's not going to be, because we
Yeah.
can't. And so he's mentally made that distinction very early,
Hmm.
and is able to, like, not even drift from that.
Right.
And so it might seem a little bit more harsh, but it's because he's just walled that other stuff off because it's not gonna happen,
Right.
right? Like, I'm gonna get married to a woman, I'm gonna do that, I'm doing this thing. We're not going to be together
Right.
despite what I ever might feel, and so that's always off the table.
Well, even if it's off the table, doesn't mean he doesn't love him.
Right, and that's where I'm not sure which it is, right?
Mm.
Because he's so good at it
Hmm.
that it's hard to know, right? Are you simply just like, "Hey, you're cool, and, like, we get
Hmm.
along, and
Right.
this is fun." Is there more? Because you obviously had the more walled off. Is it walled
Right.
off because you just aren't that kind of person?
Right.
Is it walled
No,
off because you just walled off for him, or,
I
is
think
he
it's
just not
walled
the
off
one?
because he developed that skill set that
Yeah.
Tim hasn't been able to. He hasn't been in that situation where he had to. Hawk had to. We saw his father. We knew he couldn't.
Right.
So he was just like, this is the situation. He's just one of those people who's like, this is the situation it is. He's not trying to fix the situation. He's just trying to live in the situation. He's not trying to thrive,
Mhm.
right? Tim is the one who's trying to thrive. And those two people are usually the ones that kind of get together. One that has a vision and one who knows how to get things done in the current situation, right? So one that pushes forward, one that
Right.
keeps you on track, basically.
Yeah.
So I do think that I do think that he loves him their earlier days and the older days. I mean, in these later times, or in the past, but future past.
Right.
I think that
Uh,
he is, he they're now in he's now in an era. Unfortunately, he's married with kids, but he's now in an era where it would be easier for him to express, less dangerous for him to
mhm,
express his love for Tim, and now he's trying to, um, in whatever capacity that he has. Unfortunately, he's burned Tim so badly, it seems, that Tim is having a hard time opening back up, but his love for him is making it so, you know? Um, but it's just tragic to think about the fact that that's not going to end positively anyway, or it might end
right.
positively, but
Yeah,
we
but
just know that one of them is going to pass away, um, before their time, right? Or what we would consider before old age, basically.
mhm.
So I don't know. Just yeah, that's my that's my thought about it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, and I'm really trying to not be annoyed with Tim,
Yeah, I see
but
that you're very frustrated with him. I
I
think
just
he's like a helpless romantic sort
I
of
know, and that kinda
situation.
thing it just wears on my patience. I get it, but I'm like, you can't what? You can't
Yeah, but and I think that's probably one of the things that draws Hawk. I think for at the beginning, Hawk just thought this was going to be um, another lay, but he kind of grew on him. Like he didn't want it to be another lay, and so he was determined, you know, whatever. And so I think that's kind of what grew on him. He just kind of met his match, right? Basically, he met someone who started breaking down his walls. And he wants maybe his walls to be broken down. He didn't think that would ever happen. He didn't think it ever could happen. I'm thinking this is just me speculating,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's that's kind of how I feel about that. But there was something I was going to say, and I totally forgot what I was going to say. Um, oh man, I totally forgot what I was going to say. But yeah,
What about
sorry.
Hawk or Tim or
No,
Marcus?
I don't remember. Because it was at the end of the show. What happened at the end of this episode? Um,
Hawk was getting tested.
no, okay, before that, like before the flashback or flash forward, I suppose. Um,
They were
the
sitting
s-
oh, McCarthy was giving his speech about he was getting married,
oh
and they
right,
were looking
yeah,
for
okay, yeah.
yeah.
So this is one of the things. It just we were talking about this, but it's so infuriating, right? So we don't know if actually in real life McCarthy was actually caught up in this type of stuff, but
Mhm,
I would so anyone. I always have this opinion: if you are speaking so loudly, you've got something to hide, right? And that's kind of, I mean, I don't know if it's this, but I'm pretty sure you've got something to hide, right? And it's so angering
mhm,
seeing how these people treat other people. Like you are what do you call that? I guess it's like people in, what do they say? People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
right.
That's not actually the expression I'm looking for. I'm really looking for something that's just like you are you are persecuting the people that you are trying to sleep with. Like it's really just so infuriating that he would do that. So then, of course, he's going to go get married to kind of get the heat off of him. That's what they did in Hollywood as well. So it's like a well-known course of action, right?
Mhm,
Unfortunately, like the women get to suffer from this, but the women weren't also guiltless, right? Um, so no one was really guiltless in this whole situation, but just that's just what's so infuriating about all of this. Like these people are the ones, they're the they're the perpetrators and the persecutors, right?
mhm,
Like I don't know, I
yeah.
can't. And It is, and you know what's also interesting? It's humans are doing this to humans. It's not like aliens are doing this. It's not like somebody else is making us do this to each other. We're doing it to ourselves, you know? And then we swear we were right. It's just so
Yeah. Yeah,
anyways.
that's interesting because it just makes you think about, you know, when you hear people really trying to get you riled up against against other people or really heated about something,
Mhm.
right? Stop and think about like what do they have to gain specifically with me being so upset about this, right?
Right, yeah.
Why do
Mhm.
they why are they trying to rile people to be so upset about this thing? Like what
That's a good
are they gaining
point.
from this? Why?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times it's people using that human nature about us to for their own benefit, right?
Yeah.
To marshal people to go and do something, right? Like in this instance, right? It's all this mania around communism, right? People
Right.
use that to get in these huge positions of power and
Mhm.
huge budgets and all this access to all stuff they're doing, right? Like
Yeah.
for what, right? Like it wasn't even
It wasn't that big, yeah.
wasn't that serious, right? But
Yeah.
you were able to use all this fear to build out all this apparatus around you and all this power.
Yeah. And notice that that's always the thing that they use, fear, right?
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
don't use they don't use love
It's not as
or
strong.
peace or yeah. I mean, it is I
Eh,
think
Negative emotions are so much more powerful just like you think about even if someone insults you, right? Like
Mhm.
that sticks with you so much longer than a compliment, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just, social media, right? Like when people post something you dislike,
Mhm.
you're like, "Oh, I gotta comment angry." Like if you like something, like this is YouTube, right? Like as an example,
Mhm.
that's why we ask people to like it, right? Because if you like something, you're liable to just, "Oh, that was cool," and keep going, right?
Right. Mhm.
If you dislike it,
Mhm.
really? Like, that's when people get engaged and do stuff. That's why people like posting videos about negative stuff online all the time, but in social media, because the negativity, it like feeds us. It's like
Yeah.
it's our inner whatever. Like we love it. We love the negativity. It's just it's so. I remember this is just a quick side thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, go
I
ahead. I'm
remember
listening.
being young. Like I don't know, as a weirdo, sometimes I would I would be upset. Right? Maybe maybe like 7 or 8 years old. But then there's being upset. But then it's like you try to, get yourself more upset,
Mhm.
and it's something about doing that, I don't know, it's kinda
Yeah.
fun to,
That's
get
interesting.
yourself, hyped up, uh, uh, I'm so mad, why are you doing this, right? But
Right.
something about it, I don't know, it's just me being a weird child, but anyway, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I have this issue where I will think of something negative, um, often in the line of Christianity against homosexuality, against women. Like these are the things that cross my mind, and I will have literal arguments in my head. And I know the way it makes me feel. I don't like the way it makes me feel, but I like the engagement that I have in my head, sort of thing, you know. So you're right. Like, it's I don't know if okay. So here's the concept. Like, is negativity um and like fear or whatever, is that actually more powerful, or is it just one of those things where it's so loud or it makes us feel a certain way that we we pay more attention to it, right? So like okay, just as something to compare it to, when you do something good for somebody and you see their expression of um or you know that they are thankful or grateful or something like that,
Mhm,
that also gives you this kind of rush of a like adrenaline or dopamine or something like that, um and you want to do it again, right?
mhm,
Which obviously you can take that into the negative realm. We talked about that as well, but um like it- I feel like those two. what do you think about that? Do you think that one is more powerful than the other, or
Yeah, I mean, just in things I've read, right? Like, yeah, there's it's two separate things. Like, one is trying to drive like behavior change, right? So if you're trying to like help your child behave differently, say,
Mhm.
you're much better off praising what you like than
Right.
pointing out what you don't like,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So point out when they do it correctly is
Mhm.
much better than pointing out when they do it wrong.
Right.
So positive reinforcement is a much better way
Mhm.
to change someone's behavior.
Right.
Separate from, right, like what people enjoy as far as entertainment or get that rush from,
Mhm.
right? Like that is just even the news. Like it's just like we like bad news. We like seeing someone fall. Like it's fun to see a heartwarming story. But you know what else is
Mhm.
fun? This person thought they were all so good to see them fall and to watch. You know, like it's just
Yeah.
there's something about those types of things that like feed something in us, which is
Yeah.
funny because again on the opposite side, like the positivity piece is what is more effective if you
Mhm.
can get it
Right.
right at helping change someone's behavior. But it's just this negative stuff. It's just the fear piece. Because I mean, think about it from a biological standpoint. Like it's very important to be aware of things that are dangerous, right? And
Right.
so if
Yes.
if you can get people feeling that they're in danger,
Mhm.
um, they're gonna go for that. Like that's part of the issue I think in the United States at least is that people feel like on both sides feel like their way of life is at
Mhm.
risk.
Right.
However you feel about that, hey, like the Christians feel like, hey, like our ability to be Christian is
Mhm.
at risk,
Right.
right? And so we have to fight in order to not be have our way of life extinguished, right?
Right.
Well, that's true or not. Like if you get them to feel that way,
Mhm.
then you've got a very passionate group of people that are there for you. People fighting to make the world better.
Mhm.
You can try. It's
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people passionate like to
Mhm.
fix something versus passionate to like protect myself, protect
Right.
my children, protect whomever, right?
Right.
Um, you're teaching my kids bad things, so let's ban all these books in the schools, right? Like it's just the fear, right?
Yeah.
It's really motivating, and I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of sad. I love like Hallmark movies and stuff like that where things are less like, so the show is really engaging to me because, but it's not because of the negative aspect. That's the part that's actually very hurtful. Cause like when I'm seeing with Marcus, like fight, like the racism, and then in addition to that, the homophobia, um, which is so named, it's accurately named homophobia. All right. So the the kind of fear of like homosexuals because you don't know what it is, right? And so you're afraid of it. You're afraid that it's going to be the end of the you're afraid that it's going to be the end of the world, cause the end of the destruction of the world. You're afraid that they're going to indoctrinate, that we're going to indoctrinate your kids. You're afraid, you're just afraid, right? For no reason. You're just afraid, which speaks to this whole reason why they're kind of against it, is because it's such a powerful emotion, but kind of the one of the most misguiding emotions, um, because it's just a fear, but it's not factual based, right? People will tell you this thing. If you've already started kind of believing it, you just it just feeds it more, or if you have no kind of concept of anything and you're continuously being told this, you're just going to start believing it, and then, excuse me, it's going to become kind of the way that you think. But yeah, the negative things that are happening in the show aren't the things that motivate me. They are interesting, they are intriguing, but they're the things that hurt me, personally. It's the things that hurt me the most, and the things that just make me kind of regret humanity and our heritage, the heritage that we're leaving behind, leaving behind. Like, this is our heritage. We've done this. We decided that we're going to hurt each other and kill each other, and then blame it on somebody else, like God or whatever. So the thing I think I like the most about this show is visiting, like understanding, yeah, the difference between the way Tim is seeing their relationship, the way Tim is seeing the relationship and the way Hawk is seeing the relationship, or the way Marcus is seeing his relationship with the other guy. I don't know what his name is. Um, those are the things that I really want to see. I want to see what this type of relationship is between the McCarthy friends, sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, I was very upset when Hawkins was talking to the informant, and the guy, he was talking about it, and he was ashamed that he bought him when he got drunk. And Hawkins was like, "I'm not judging you. Like the fact that you feel that you feel like you have to have that shame, especially at that time, which was normal. But the fact that you felt that's one of those things that caused me. I don't like them. You know, um, doesn't mean I don't watch it, this type of stuff, but it's just
Yeah.
really those types of things that I just makes me feel sad, and like I don't whatever. But in my opinion, like the difference between like fear is can be held on to. I guess maybe it could be held on for your entire life if you really want it to be, and whatever. But I don't think it's as powerful. I just think it's one of the more. I think it, I don't know. Maybe they're equal. Maybe they're equal in power. We just really haven't seen. If I bring Jesus into the equation, it seems like, or God into the equation, it seems like love is far more powerful. And that's kind of what I say. I think love is far more powerful because I think love makes a way, uh, all types of love makes a way where fear cannot, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one thing I it seems like we often see is that something can be better, but
Hmm.
it's often in many ways more difficult, right? Like starting a good habit
Hmm.
is better and is more beneficial, but slipping into a bad habit is so easy to do, right? Like it's so easy to develop a
Hmm.
bad habit.
Right. Yes.
It's
Hmm.
difficult to start a good one and maintain it, right? Like once it's in place, it's so powerful to have it there. But
Hmm.
like starting that is difficult. Starting a
Right.
bad habit is easy. You just
Right.
slip in, like it's like these negative things. Same thing with fear. Like it's so easy to make someone afraid of something,
Right. Yeah.
right? To get
Hmm.
someone to like love or care about something,
Hmm.
like once it's in effect, is definitely more powerful. But
Yeah.
like that first step, right? Like getting it started is more difficult, right? So like it's
Yeah.
ultimately more powerful and stronger, but like
Yeah.
it's it's more difficult. It's so much easier to just fear-based, like those things seem to just be easier to feed, right? Than the
Yeah.
more positive things. Even the positive things are more powerful and better for you. They just seem to be, for some reason, more difficult,
I
you
think the
know?
reason is I think it testifies to just the condition of humans, right? From a religious standpoint, because we're sinful, right? But if you kind of take religion out of it, I think if you stood back and looked at it, you could tell that there's something wrong with us. We want better, right? But we act worse, you know? So why is that? Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is so much harder to it's so much easier. So if you start off just neutral, right? In a neutral state, which is usually what happens with kids generally. This is usually what happens with kids. You start off in a neutral state. Um, it seems to be so much easier to get bad habits, slouching, for example. Um, smoking, stuff like that. Just doing things to your body that you shouldn't be doing. right? It's just so much easier to do it because of peer pressure or because of the situation and stuff like that. It's much harder to develop good habits because also good habits take longer. It seems, I could be wrong, but it seems like good habits take longer to put into place, and then like you said, once they're in place, it's harder to keep it there, right? Because it's so much easier for us, it seems, to you know go contrary to that. You see this with people health wise, like you see this with actors, right? Who when they were younger, they're in like awesome shape, but after they've after a while they stop acting or something like that. It's just easy for them to you know lose control, kind of gain a bunch of weight and stuff like that. It happens quite often, so yeah, that's a sad situation, I think. um, I like to not be I am actively looking not to be inspired or motivated by fear, right? I accept fear because it needs to be, like you said, it's good to know about your surroundings, um and it's understandable, I suppose, to fear to uh, not want to dive headfirst into the unknown,
Right.
like you want to really be like, is this really something I should be doing, but still remain open to it and be like, not be afraid, so that when you get the information that you're getting, you can process it properly. You can't process it properly if you're afraid of it, because everything that you're processing is going to be through the lens of fear. But have a respect for it and be like, okay, I can maybe do this, but this is what people do with plants. So like we did a review on psychedelics, right? Um, Before they were okay, then all of a sudden this war against drugs, and now all of a sudden psychedelics and all these plants are criminalized. They did this also with tomatoes, by the way, um, until someone was like, no, it's a plant, it's got to have some good uses to it, and then they had to revisit it, but outside of the lens of fear. We know it is possible, so we have a respect for it, but we also think it can be used for something for good. So like it's a sad state of affairs, I suppose. Humans are bad in a bad way, I suppose.
And on that happy note,
Yeah.
now one last thing I wanted to ask you about was now what Hawk's wife? Do you remember her name?
No.
I can't recall.
Listen, I cannot
I know.
remember
Why did I
names.
ask you anybody's name? My fault.
It
I
took
should have
me two
known.
episodes to remember Tim. So
Right.
like,
Skippy. So,
yeah,
do you think at least right now, I say now as far as the now time and the timeline, I know it's
right, yeah.
confusing,
Hmm.
but in the now,
The past now.
correct.
You're right. Okay.
The okay,
Now, as in the episode, in the past or in the present. I'm assuming you're talking about the past.
the past.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Do you think that she knows about him?
I think she might suspect something. But people can blind themselves to things or like ignore um, signs, right? So they could be like,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. So, for example, um, Rock Hudson's um, wife, the one woman that he married, in some conversations she said she suspected, and in some interviews she said she suspected, in some she said she didn't know at all. Right. So I think that she might suspect, or I think in the present, in the episode, in the present, she knows. Right.
Yeah, I feel like it's been enough
And
time that she
yeah,
yeah.
in the past, I think she probably
Yeah.
suspects. Right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out if she's she had I can't tell if she is clueless,
Hmm.
suspects, or like knows and is okay and proceeding accordingly, regardless,
So those aren't the only options, though. So like, um, it not might she might know, it not be okay, but thinking that she can, because they used to think that she could convert them,
Also
right?
true.
Right.
Right.
Or thinking that it's a phase, which also they used to think. There's a lot of things
He
that would
brought it. Right.
cause
Right.
a woman to be like, I'm marrying this guy because I know he
Yeah.
loves me, even though blah blah blah.
Right.
Right.
That makes
So
sense. That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be any one of those things that would cause her to be like, let me continue to pursue this thing, right?
So you think at least right now she at least suspects. You
I
you
think
you,
so.
you don't think she's clueless.
I don't think so. I think I think everyone suspects specifically, and that's another weird thing. I mean, listen, we're 35 minutes into this thing, but like, but I think that's also another thing that's kind of strange. I was thinking to myself as we were watching, like, the expectation is be at a certain age and get married, right? What
Yep.
if I don't want to get married? Oh, well, listen, you got to. Like, that's a weird way to live, right? I mean, a weird way to make to form your society, forcing people to do something just because you said that that's the way it's supposed to be. You know? Like, I don't understand that. But anyways, I think they all suspect simply because he is a eligible bachelor and hasn't married, right? The same thing is happening with McCarthy, which is why he's getting married. Probably going to happen with these other two guys,
Hmm.
you know, because this other guy, he had a girlfriend in New York or whatever. Think it's on
Right.
purpose, you know?
Right. Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. Like I think that they suspect, right? But the women are less judgmental about it. Well, that's not true. They're just less outspoken about it than the men. Women have contributed to a lot of closeted men getting married. Um, I I would say straight women, but they have contributed to a lot of straight men getting married because of yeah, I mean, you heard the way that the secretary was talking to Tim. Like that's basically how they are. I mean, those women are not women in general. Just those type of
He's like,
women,
that's
So
how they are.
that's
Here we go in the comments. Nate's getting us canceled. Thanks a lot. It's been fun, you guys.
we
But it
tried.
looks like it's gonna be the
We
last
didn't
video.
even make it past 6 months.
Right. We've now been canceled because of Nate's big mouth. Uh,
Yeah. So my bad.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant.
Yeah.
But yes. So overall episode, what are you thinking?
Man, I'm still putting it up there in like 9. It has not yet. I mean, I really should put it at a 10. I don't know why I would 10. Like I'm gonna give it a 10 because I don't know why I wouldn't. There's nothing in there. The writing is great. The acting is great. Jonathan Bailey acts like uh, a like you're getting annoyed with
You
him.
just
Like
mentioning it just
this
now.
is the
I was
point,
feeling it
right?
again. So you said his name, I was
This
like,
is like he is doing it. Like he is doing his job. Like he's doing it really well. Like there's nothing I think I have an issue with, and they are treating the subjects really well. No, I think I would definitely give it a 10. I don't have any reason why I don't think I have any reason.
look at that. 10 out
And they
of
got and they
10.
got and they got black people in there, and they had different ethnicities because like last episode they had a seemed like a Latino guy who was with the gay group. So
Right.
man, I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. They got people getting slapped. I mean,
Yeah,
hey,
I
what
mean that. Yeah,
I'm
funny
sure
they named that
I'm
episode.
serious. As soon as we're done with this, Nate's gonna go back and like rewind.
I'm definitely gonna rewatch. What? Maybe not tonight because we have another episode to watch. But like, I'm gonna watch that before.
Like,
So yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think I'm probably I don't know 8-ish. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's missing
Mm-hmm.
or if it's missing something, but I don't feel 10.
Okay.
And that may just be a genre thing, right?
That's
Like,
probably yeah, because
there's just something I was like, "Yeah, it's great," but it's
I
just
mean, that's what I
not
did with
10 for me.
Sandman.
Right, yeah, like,
Right,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
not, but, yeah, I mean, solid 8.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's very good. It's keeping me involved, keeping me interested. I wanna know what happens to these people. Um, yeah, the only thing I think is just sometimes it feels a little bit just for me, a little bit, I guess, abrupt as they're switching the timelines. Sometimes it's just
Yeah, that
I
is
feel like I'm not I feel like it didn't need to switch the way it's switching, but, that's just a minor nitpick, like, I'm not like, "Oh, y'all suck for doing that." Like, it's just like,
yeah, yeah.
if I'm thinking of something that I'm
Mhm.
like, "Man, like, I don't that's, like, not the best for me."
Right.
Something about that just feels a little bit jolting sometimes, but,
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, I don't have anything specific to say about it other than that, but yeah,
yeah.
I'm having a good time.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the thing about the genre, like, this isn't normally the type of genre that I like, but I'm so engulfed in it. Um, yeah, I just I just because that I guess that would be maybe if I was gonna give it anything less, but they've got me so like, I really wanna watch next episode. I won't, but, like, I really like, that's how I'm deep that's how deep I am into this. So, yeah, normally that's what I did with Sandman. I was like, I would give it a 10, but I just don't like the I guess, the story. So not the story, but yeah, the story, the genre, I didn't like it. So,
Yeah,
whatever. Anyways.
it happened. It
Okay,
happened.
well, there you go. 10 and an 8.
There you go.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
us know what you think in the comments below. If you like the episode, what you thought about what we thought about the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe something you want to point out to us, which we really do enjoy. School us. Let us know what's really going on.
We do, we do.
Sometimes we're very
People have been
confused.
educated
Yeah.
us a lot, like, on the, well, the name. Someone also, in the last, video told us about, Matt Bombert. I hadn't followed his, story, so I tried to look it up, I didn't find anything, so I had to look some more. But, yeah, we do like
Yep.
when
Yeah, they're
y'all
letting us
share
know
with
who
us.
Tim worked for and who
Yep.
Hawk worked for and that interaction and all that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been
Yep.
great. We love it. Again, we're watching this one time through and
Yep.
giving you our reaction immediately. So we're gonna miss stuff. We're gonna misunderstand stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we love you guys. So
Yes, we do.
keep us straight. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, click notification bell so you see when we get new stuff. And we'll see you on the next one. All right.
Ciao.
Later.